Hello, welcome to another Sunday video. I just want to recap a little bit about what I've been doing the last several weeks and kind of what my introduction was saying. So I'm planning on making these videos, excuse me, to to talk about some of the things that I would like to hear in church. I've been going through a lot of difficulty trying to find a good church and find good things that I agree with in church. There's a lot of inspiring and informational messages, but they're just not helpful enough for me. And I feel like a lot of people are going through so many difficult things that they need more than inspirational messages. They need real information they can apply to their lives, can apply to their situations. So that's kind of what I'm going to be doing in these videos. Of course, I know some may be less helpful than others, but I'm just going to try to give you what I can for my own life, and I guess you could take it or leave it, but just kind of wanted to repeat what I had said before. But anyway, today I'm going to be talking about messages from God. Of course, I have my own pet peeve with this kind of thing, but when I was going to church, a lot of the people that were in the church were receiving messages from God, and they seemed to have their own interpretation of it. My pastor is a great example. I feel like the messages he received from God, he put his own interpretation on, and it caused a lot of pain for myself, particularly. But I guess I'll try to give some examples of those. Like, um, I remember a situation where, like, my my pastor, well, my pastor and his wife co-pastored the church, and they would have a yearly, one day a year that they called Pastor's Appreciation Day, and that's something I had never seen in a church before, so it was kind of new to me. But so they were saying that God told them to do that, so they would kind of try to have a meeting beforehand and ask what everybody wanted to do. Um, well, I guess the pastor's wife would ask what we wanted to do, the members of the church, and we would say we were fine with going out to eat or something like that. But then, like, the next week, the plan would completely change, and it would turn into like a like an event where speakers came, and there was food, and it just turned into something else. And I remember it was really hurtful not to be talked to about that kind of thing. Um, so I want to kind of go into, like, what what it means to get a message from God. Well, how I look at it anyway. Um, I remember when I first started hearing what I would call messages from God. Um, I guess hear Him talk to you and say uh, something for you to do, or it could be anything. But I'll start with one of the first things that I heard was take strawberries to the neighbors. Um, and I didn't, of course, I didn't want to initially, but, like, I also felt like um, it was going to help me in some way. I guess that's how I take all the things God says. Like, you need to do it because it's going to help you somehow. So I remember, I didn't really say much to anybody. Well, I say anybody. I was with my husband. I didn't really say much to anybody. But I mean, with my husband, I didn't say much to him. Um, I think I did say, well, I feel like I should take strawberries to the neighbors, and so I just did it. But I do feel like some of the things that I've run into with my previous church is things would be said, like things would be heard from God, or God would say something to somebody, and it wasn't really talked about. You know, um, I guess with the strawberries example, God starts you off some kind of small till He can trust you to say more. I guess messages that have more gravity to them. And he does, to me, he does expect you to talk about the message that he sends you. Um, Maybe not always it has to be talked about, but almost every time I think it's supposed to be shared, and it's not always something that you do like a robot and you don't tell anybody, or maybe you tell somebody but you decide to do your own thing anyway. That's kind of what happened to to me in my previous church. When the pastor received a message, it felt like maybe they would share it, but they would still do their own thing anyway. So um, like, to me, the messages are not necessarily do your own thing, and even if you're going to share it, to me it's share it and compromise with the people that you're telling it to. you know um, like, for example, I was recently told to have a child, and I don't think that I'm just supposed to tell my husband, well, God said to have a child, and then if he's like, well, Tiffany, I'm not ready, then I'm just like, well, you know what? We're having one anyway. That's not what God wants. This is just something I've learned myself. Uh, and nothing is really black and white. We are supposed to compromise and try to figure out what other people want. I feel like with the situation in the church that I was in, it would have helped me to have more discussion about the pastor's appreciation. We had the initial discussion, what does everybody want to do? That's great. But, if the pastors still feel like they need to do a special event with speakers and stuff like that and not go out to eat, that just needs to be discussed too. But I really don't think that that's even what it should be. I really feel like, you know, if the members, if we as the members had said, well, we just really don't want to do that, do you think that we could go out to eat? Then the pastor should be like, yeah, I think that's okay. Because another thing I've learned about God is, like, when he says something, like, if he tells you to do a surprise party, you have discretion in what you do with the surprise party. Like, so if he says do the surprise party, that means that you can make it look however you want. You can get balloons. You can have a huge thing. You can have a small thing. It doesn't really matter. But now that I'm talking about that, I just wanted to mention that that's another thing. If somebody tells you to do something for another person, you need to try to consider the things that you know about another person. Like, I was just thinking about the situation where I was in my previous church, and somebody was told to make a surprise party for somebody else, and the person that was receiving the surprise party did not like surprise parties, and they did not like a bunch of people and stuff like this. But the person that was told by God to do the surprise party was just determined that it needed to be their way. So I guess that's my next point. Like, if God tells you something that's for somebody else, you need to consider what the other person wants. Now, I know sometimes you're not going to know. Like, when God told me to take the strawberries to the neighbors, I didn't know if they liked strawberries or not, so I kind of just had to do it. But the situation I'm talking about, it was the pastor and her sister, and the sister did know, I think, to a certain extent, what the pastor that was her sister wanted. But I think it just became more of like, what did she think she wanted, as in, what did the person that was throwing the surprise party want? But I mean, we all have limitations, so I kind of looked at it more like that. Like, you know, we can't help that our fears get in the way too, so of course that's going to be part of it. But anyway, that's just kind of a pet peeve I have with other people I've heard, and where they're talking about God, told them to do this and told them to do that. And I really hope to, I guess, help people understand that when God tells you something, you just you really need to talk about it. I mean, he says communicate, so that's very important. So um, I guess I'll try to leave it there, and I thank you for watching.